Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 366 for October 15th, 2024. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's episode, Davante Adams gets his trade out of Las Vegas. The Toronto Argonauts get the last playoff spot in the Canadian Football League. And professional women's football is returning to Buffalo, New York for the first time since 1970. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
How about them Cowboys?
How about those Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? That's a lot of fun to say and do when they suck as bad as they are. I love it.
We're going to have Stephen A. Smith calling in here in just a few minutes.
Oh, God, I wish.
He didn't get enough airtime today with all the...
yesterday,
yeah.
Wearing his 10-gallon hat.
Oh, my gosh.
Laughing up a storm, having his cigar out. Oh,
that is the only time I really enjoy Stephen A. Smith is when he's dissing the Cowboys, and boy, he was on fire yesterday.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. There's not a whole lot I love in life, but Stephen A. Smith clowning the Cowboys is pretty up there.
Yep. We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, so you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the description of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You'll find over 400 videos. I think it's up to 450 now. I was looking the other day.
Jeez.
450 videos on our YouTube channel, including things like CFL Week Review number 18.
Week 18? Yeah, why don't you say it right?
CFL Week 18 recap.
Yep, we did that this past week.
Yes.
We did Just Lying Around versus the Cowboys recap the other night. And then I kind of did a little fun intro/skit. We made that its own standalone video shortly before hitting record on this podcast today. You did a history lesson over the weekend for the first time since Black History Month.
Yeah,
it's been a while. You had to shake the rust off for that.
Yeah,
one.
see, I got the idea for this Friday morning when I was on my walk, my mile-and-a-half walk I do. And so I wrote it that afternoon, and I recorded it that night, and then you got a hold of it and you said, "You got this wrong. You got this wrong. You need to record this again." I had to record that thing 3 more times to get it to where...
See how rusty you are?
Yeah, it was. It was. I thought it was great because I had it all done, and then I realized I made a bunch of mistakes and had some facts wrong and didn't remember things quite the way they were. But in the end, we finally got it all put together.
And that was the history lesson, Lions versus Cowboys playoff history. Very fitting for Lions-Cowboys week this week. And, of course, last week we had our Week 6 picks video. And spoiler alert, we had 2 people have perfect weeks this past weekend.
Yes, never happened before in the 3-4 years we've been doing this.
It's crazy, and I have a special thing that we're going to have on that video. So,
okay.
Yep, a very special award we're going to hand out for that.
Oh.
So, yeah.
It's not going to cost us anything, is it?
Oh, heck no. We're cheap.
Good.
We cheap. cheap. All right, we got upcoming videos. We got the CFL Week 19 recap, which we'll record sometime this week and get up. Kyle and I will do our Just Lying Around reaction to the Lions-Vikings game this weekend. That's going to be a big game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game.
That's going to be crazy. A lot of proving which team might be the best team.
In the NFC North,
North, the NFC, the NFL, because a lot of people are either like, well, no, the Vikings are the best team. No, the Lions are the best. Put them head-to-head finally.
Right.
Hopefully we'll get a good game. And then obviously the picks for this upcoming week, Week 7 picks video, we're going to record after we do this show, and those will go up Wednesday. But you can still go to the YouTube channel in the community tab. We have the post there for you to leave your picks. If you can't wait for the video, drop your picks there.
All right. Well, let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football, and we're going to start off this week with scores from Week 5, or was it Week 6?
It's Week 6.
Week 6. See, I didn't update that. From Week 6 in the NFL.
That's right, everybody. Week 6 in the NFL kicked off on Thursday night between the 49ers and Seahawks, and both teams wearing kind of throwback-ish Well, Seahawks clearly in their throwback unis.
Yeah,
the 49ers were wearing their kind of old-style looking throwbacks. A great uniform matchup all around.
Yeah.
And the 49ers came out on top of this one 36-24 to give the Seahawks their third straight loss.
Yeah,
Boy, they have not been able to recover since losing to the Lions. And I'm just saying, no team has won after losing to the Lions. Like the next week they lose.
Yeah, that's
but
kind
the
of
Seahawks have hit a skid.
That's kind of been a stat lately. Is that you lose to Detroit and you lose the next week too. So.
Well, no, you play Detroit and then you lose the next week because the Buccaneers beat Detroit, but then the next week they lost.
Oh, okay.
So it's no matter what you do against Detroit, the next week you lose. So. Bet money on Dallas losing their next game.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the Seahawks uniforms. God, I love those original looking uniforms. They were so good when Jim Zorn, was out there and throwing passes. And God, what was his wide receiver's name? I can't remember right now.
Galloway? Joey Galloway?
No.
Yeah, Joey Galloway.
It'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, that was such a good look for so many years. Then they went to this putrid Seahawks color they got now, and it's atrocious.
See, I think there is a way to merge the new with the old. I think if they use like that new style Seahawk, the angrier looking Seahawk, and they went back to those colors though, I think that would be a good look. I've seen some fan renderings and they look pretty good.
Steve Largent was the receiver back then, not Joey Galloway.
Well, there was a Joey Galloway.
Yes, but not with the Seahawks, I don't think, was he?
Wasn't he? I thought so. Maybe I got him mixed up with somebody else. I don't know.
No, but Jim Zorn to Steve Largent, those two guys were awesome, and I really enjoyed.
You're gonna make me look this up. I got so many screens in front of me to do this show. I can't look up right now.
Just take it that I'm right, and let's move on.
Oh boy,
all
whatever.
Right.
We're moving across the pond as the NFL played another game in London this past week. It was the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Chicago Bears, and the Bears got the 35-16 victory. Did you get up early to watch this one?
No, I don't think I watched any of that at all.
Oh. So I got up a little bit. I watched a little bit of it, but I was kind of like bored with it, and I didn't realize the Bears went on to score 35 touchdowns. All the talk is Caleb Williams scored 4 touchdowns. He looks great, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Hey, guess what, Bears fans? I don't care that you're 4-2. You beat 4 one-win teams. Let me know when you beat a real team. Yes, Caleb's improving. I'll give you that. I don't think you guys are a dumpster fire. You are an improving team, but your 4 wins come against 4 teams that only have 1 win apiece.
Yeah.
So let's settle the heck down, Bears fans, is all I'm going to say. You play the Commanders in a couple weeks. You got your bye. You play the Commanders. You beat the Commanders, I'll give you your flowers. I had to tell so many Bears coworkers that today at work. I was like, I'll give you your flowers if you beat the Commanders. Otherwise, I don't want to hear a peep out of you guys. All right. Speaking of the Commanders, they gave the Baltimore Ravens a run for their money this past weekend. The Ravens won 30-23. I wasn't sure how this game was going to go. I thought maybe the Commanders could pull the upset, and clearly they got within a touchdown of it. Mm-hmm. So, watch out for those Commanders.
Yeah, they're up and coming.
They're the kind of that sleeper team that there's always one every year. Who's going to be that team? And this year it looks like it's the Commanders. So good for them. I mean, if you want a loss, that's the kind of loss you want. You lost to 7 points to a very good Ravens team who is improving every week as well. The Green Bay Packers just had their way with the Arizona Cardinals, 34-13. Jordan Love, my God, he was just throwing touchdowns left and right in this game. The Houston Texans defeated the New England Patriots, kind of spoiling rookie quarterback Drake May's debut, 41-21. The big takeaway from this game, I guess, for you is that the Patriots were wearing their Patriot Pat throwbacks.
Yep.
Those are pretty nice.
Yep, I like those too. I like the older stuff. The way teams should look. The way they came up with the uniforms many years ago were fine. They didn't need to be updated or changed.
I could see the Patriots are another one where I would love to see kind of that hybrid. Like I like that brighter red jersey. I kind of like the brighter aesthetic to that uniform and the white helmet. But I think there's a way that you could do like the current Patriots logo. You brighten it up, but you put that on the white helmet with those uniforms. I don't know. There's a way to hybrid it, and I mean, there's a lot of great fan renderings out there that I really adore those. So, but the Texans getting a big win there. The Texans, another team to keep an eye on. I mean, they were great last year. Texans look like they're back on it this year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hung a 50 burger on the New Orleans Saints, 51-27. Baker Mayfield has been playing out of his mind. That Buccaneers team is a pretty decent team.
Yeah.
And how about the fall of the Saints? They started off 2-0, and I believe they have lost 3 or 4 straight now. I can't. I don't have their record right in front of me. Oh, let me see here if it tells me. Thank you, NFL app, for not telling me. But, I mean, the Buccaneers, though, let's give them their love. They have been, they had a real tough game against Atlanta last week where maybe they could have won, but it was an overtime game. But to, beat another division opponent like that in their building, I mean, watch out for those Buccaneers.
Yep.
The Philadelphia Eagles squeaked by the Cleveland Browns 20-16 in a game where all people were talking about was Nick Sirianni jawing at the fans and then wimping out and keeping his kids at the podium with him so that he wouldn't have to answer all the hard questions. I hate Nick Sirianni. I really do. This dude's a bum. I do not like this guy at all.
A couple of the guys on different sports shows were bad-mouthing him today. And so, that seems to be the consensus. Nobody really likes him anymore.
I think my favorite
time is coming to an end.
My favorite thing somebody said, I think it was Cowherd, said that Nick Sirianni's that guy that acts smarter than he is. Like, he acts like he's the smartest guy in the room, but he ain't. And I loved that, and I had a big chuckle when I heard that. All right, the Indianapolis Colts got a win on the road in Tennessee and defeated the Titans 20-17. The Los Angeles Chargers defeated the Denver Broncos in Denver 23-16. Now, from this game, Jim Harbaugh had a little bit of a scare in the first quarter.
Irregular heartbeat or something?
Something like that, yeah. Went in the blue tent, got checked out. Came back, though. Seemed fine. He talked about it after the game. So it was one of those moments where it's like, dang, glad he put his health first. It was like, hey, I'm not feeling good. I don't care if it's in the middle of the game. I need to go get checked out.
Yeah, he's. I think
this has happened before.
He's had this before. It's been a condition that he's dealt with before, and there's nothing. You don't want to mess with your health.
Right.
If something's not right, get it checked out. If it's nothing, great. If it's something serious, at least you did that.
Yeah.
You checked it out.
Exactly. All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers just took care of the Las Vegas Raiders 32-13. The Atlanta Falcons had their way with the Carolina Panthers 38-20. And then the final game of the 4 o'clock slate of games on Sunday saw the Detroit Lions defeating the Dallas Cowboys 47-9.
On Jerry's birthday.
On Jerry's birthday of all days, too. I didn't realize that till we were halfway through the game. Yeah, and it made it even the more sweeter what happened.
Yeah, you didn't see the pregame show, but they brought a cake out to him on the Fox pregame show. The mascot brought it out over to him.
Lame.
And they were just all, butt-kissing Jerry Jones and on all that. But, yeah, the score was a scoreagami, and you love that still.
I love scoreagami.
That was a big thing a couple of years ago, but every once in a while it'll rear its ugly head.
Yes, it was and I believe I saved that little
1,000 something.
It is the 1,087th unique final score in NFL history. I thought that was pretty cool. Another stat from this game, the Lions have now scored 40-plus points in consecutive games for the first time since
1962.
There you go. It's only the 5th such occurrence in team history that this has happened, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then, we can talk about the game. We'll probably get to that real quick. But how about we mention, Aiden Hutchinson. He got hurt during this game. It was pretty gruesome. We saw the replays.
You saw the replay. I didn't want to watch it. You were passing the phone around, showing everybody, and I said, nope, I don't want to see it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So, but I did see it today.
But from all accounts, it sounds like he'll make a full recovery.
Yeah.
It was a broken or fractured left tibia and fibula.
Yeah.
Probably gonna get a plate or
they probably put some screws and a metal rod or something in there. He'll be stronger than ever, I think.
Maybe. Well, they said that'll make him fully bionic because his other leg, he already had surgery on that back in college. I think.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe back in college when he was at Michigan. But so we'll see. They say it's a 6 to 8 month maybe recovery, depending.
I heard 4 to 6.
Yeah, four on the low end. Which obviously Lions fans going, does that mean he can play in the Super Bowl for us if we make it to the Super Bowl? Let's not get crazy. And we can talk about all the crazy trade rumors now because of him getting hurt. Like, oh, they're going to trade for Max Crosby. Just stop it. It ain't happening. Brad Holmes is not sending out 2 first-round picks to get a guy. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I thought of this soon after that happened. I said, you've been talking about trying to get Max Crosby here.
I would love to get him here,
which would be a nice pipe dream. But what Brad Holmes is going to do is he's going to find a diamond in the rough somewhere.
I think he already did.
Somebody that you may not have heard of, or maybe somebody that didn't fit well with another team, but is a good player and will fit perfectly in with us. That's what he will do, and he'll find the right person to fill in for
I think so.
Hutchinson.
I think he today actually got somebody from the Bengals or Browns practice squad. Or
I hadn't heard that they had actually signed it.
I think I saw that somewhere that they had gotten somebody from another team's practice squad.
Okay.
So we'll see. Obviously not the big splash, but that sounds like a Brad Holmes. Like, hey,
Right.
he likes the tape of a guy. You bring him in
He's got a certain kind of person he wants on this team, personality-wise,
without having to
or
mortgage the future.
work ethic-wise, and he'll get him for a song.
Right.
You know, we won't pay through the nose to get this guy, but he'll come here. He'll be happy to be here. He will produce. And
Did you say song?
no,
I won't play it.
Don't play that.
There's a Hutch song out there for
Oh my
fans
God.
out there. It's pretty good.
too profanity laced for me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I probably shouldn't play that on this family-friendly
Right,
radio
yeah.
show. But so the game itself, the Lions, it was clear from the first snap of the game for the Lions offense where they reported, I think, was it Decker or Skipper? One of them reported as eligible the very first play.
I saw both of them going over.
Well,
to
they
a
were both
ref
out
at
there.
one point. Yeah, they were.
So
both
from the get-go, the Lions were saying, we did not forget.
yeah.
And boy, oh boy, did they have their way, and then some against the Cowboys. They were able to do so much. They rubbed the Cowboys' faces in the dookie and the carpet. You know, they did it all. They had their way with it. They purposely were embarrassing them,
Right.
and it might be one of the greatest Lions things I've ever seen.
Yeah, and Dallas couldn't do anything.
Dallas
about
couldn't
it.
do anything about. While it was, I've mentioned to Kyle, it was probably the greatest Lions game under Dan Campbell and this regime. It might go down as one of the best Lions things ever. It was a revenge. It was just pure,
Yep.
unmitigated, so satisfactory
Yeah,
revenge.
we should have won that game last year.
Yeah.
The officials screwed us out of it. We all know it, and this is how we respond.
So to try to throw it to Decker again in the end zone.
Yes.
To a lateral play to Penei Sewell, which should have counted,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't again.
Right, because of a penalty.
Whatever.
He scored.
He scored. It was great. He deserved that touchdown. And to put Dan Skipper, a 6'4" offensive lineman, out at wide receiver at the end of the game in garbage time. I don't care if it was garbage time, but to disrespect the Dallas Cowboys by putting a lineman out there like that was glorious. And I loved every minute of the embarrassment. It did seem purposeful. It seemed like they were legit just saying double reverse. Oh yeah, we'll do a double reverse and have Goff throw it down the field to Laporta.
Try and stop us.
Try and stop us, and they couldn't. And then the fact that also Jerry's stinking stadium blinded Dak Prescott to throw an interception at one point. It was just everything. It was one of the greatest Lions things I've ever experienced.
There were a couple of times when the sun was in the receiver's eyes, and that was weird.
The guy just lost it, yeah.
And I thought about this the other day, and I put something out on Facebook and Twitter. But the more I thought about this game, it was almost like watching the Harlem Globetrotters playing against the Washington Generals. You know, they're out there flipping things around, and the other team doesn't know what to do, and they can't stop them, and they're just there, to be the paid loser against the Harlem Globetrotters, and that was the Dallas Cowboys this week.
You make me want to just put up a tiny little clip of the Lions highlights with that music, that whistling music.
Sweet Georgia Brown.
So if it ain't already out there, maybe we need to jump on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we might get a copyright strike,
Oh, my
but
gosh.
boy, it'd be good.
Yeah, but it was so satisfying after last year that I slept real good that night.
Yeah, and that also means that Dan Campbell is now above 500 for the first time as a Lions head
Yeah.
coach at 28-27-1.
Yep.
And when you think about it, it doesn't sound impressive, but when you put into account that he started it off 3-13-1 that first season, and then they went 9-8 the second year,
right,
and then they had the great 12-5 season last year, and now here we are. They're 4-1.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty great.
It is. Yep.
So riding high as Lions fans, if you can't already tell. But yes, we'll move off of our beloved Detroit Lions. Obviously, I talk a lot more about it with my brother-in-law Kyle over on our podcast. I almost said This Week in the Detroit Lions, but it's Just Lying Around, a Detroit Lions podcast. Go check us out wherever good podcasts can be found. All right, we're not done with the Week 7 slate of games. We still got that Sunday night game, which saw the Cincinnati Bengals defeat the New York Giants 17-7. I didn't watch any of this. It sounded like a boring game.
Yeah, I didn't watch much of it either.
And then Monday Night Football saw the Jets with their new interim head coach and Aaron Rodgers, and they were wearing some pretty spiffy throwbacks as well.
Those were nice too.
Those were great uniforms.
Jets uniforms
Against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills came out with a 23-20 win. Aaron Rodgers throwing a pick to end the night for the Jets.
Well, he had one just before halftime, a Hail Mary that was completed and kept it a three-point game at halftime. I watched a bit of this off and on. It's like they had the Jets down, they couldn't do anything, and all of a sudden there's a Hail Mary for a touchdown, and they just kept hanging around, and in the end, it came down to that last play.
Yep. And then now, as we all know, if you haven't already seen the title of this video, the Raiders traded away wide receiver Davante Adams to the New York Jets for a conditional 2025 third-round pick. It could become a second-round pick if he makes first pro.
Yeah, if he's an all-pro and if he's on the roster. There's a couple of stipulations, but certain things are met. It'll be a second-round pick.
And Davante Adams already appeared on the Pat McAfee show behind Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, if you haven't seen the clip, it's Aaron Rodgers talking. And Aaron Rodgers stops because they're asking him about when did you hear about the Davante trade, and he looks off camera and nods, and then Davante Adams comes walking out from behind him. So. Whatever. If you weren't with the Jets when they were 2-7, you sure as heck aren't going to be with them when they're 3-13 at the end of the year. So
I think they got more problems than just
Aaron Rodgers is a cancer. I'm not kidding. He has been nothing but a cancer to that franchise. I don't hate that franchise. He makes me hate that franchise. I got a buddy who's a Jets fan, and I want to dog the Jets as much as possible because of him. Because so whatever. So Davante Adams is finally a Jet. We'll see if that does anything. I doubt it will. They might get one or two great plays.
Right
out of it, but it's not. Does Davante make great play calling? Does Davante run the ball?
Well, you know that he's going to go to Davante a lot.
Now
they're going to be double covering him, and he's not going to go in.
And he has no connection with the other receivers, so whatever.
Yep.
This is a nothing burger for me. But after that trade, this trade's actually interesting, and I actually think could pay dividends because the Browns traded away wide receiver Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills for a third-round pick. Great value, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
The Browns will also get a 7th-round pick in 2026, and the Bills get a 2025 6th-round pick. Now, Amari Cooper going to the Bills, who have had a little bit of wide receiver depth issues. I think that gives you a great number one target. Amari Cooper is still solid for as old as he is. He's 30, 31 maybe. He's up there in age, but he's been a solid, consistent wide receiver. He's not going to put up, Justin Jefferson numbers, but he's going to get you your catches, and he's going to be a guy you can rely on, and a guy that Josh Allen is probably going to be targeting quite a bit once they get going. So pretty cool. And what's funny about this is Aaron texted me. My brother Aaron, by the way.
Yes.
You know him.
You
might be familiar.
I've met him before.
Have you met him? I wasn't sure. But he texted me, and he goes, wow, in one day, both of my fantasy wide receivers got traded to different teams. And I didn't think about that. I was like, oh, you're right. You got both those guys on your team, don't you?
Well, now they have an excuse in Cleveland why Deshaun Watson is doing so bad.
Is it Amari Cooper?
Because he lost Amari Cooper.
Oh, I can think of 23 different reasons why he's not playing well.
They're going to be stuck playing him for at least another couple of years while that franchise spirals through the toilet bowl right down to the bottom.
I feel bad for that head coach having to, we're playing him because he's the best option. Yeah, okay,
told the company line, why don't
as
you?
The owner sitting off camera with a gun pointed at him saying, you're going to start him because we're paying him $200 million.
That's right.
Jeez, what a man.
Yeah, this is going to go down as the worst trade ever, or deal, worst contract.
Oh yeah.
It's guaranteed contract and all that.
It's up there.
It was terrible. Everybody knew it was terrible, but they went ahead with it anyway. And a guy that had so many, issues off the field that just what a terrible deal.
And maybe we'd look different if he even produced a little bit, but he hasn't even done that. So whatever. Right. The only other NFL news. We got 2 items left. Okay. The one that came out a little earlier today was that Super Bowl 62 will be played in Atlanta, Georgia in 2028. Mm-hmm. It will be the 4th time Atlanta has hosted the game. The last time they did so was back in 2019. And then let's see. You've got
it's going to be in New Orleans this year.
New Orleans this year for Super Bowl 59. San Francisco will host Super Bowl 60 in 2026. And Los Angeles will get Super Bowl 61 in 2027. So bring it to Detroit. Good Lord. Tired of waiting for a Super Bowl to come back to Detroit.
Yeah.
But and then the breaking news that kind of came up right as we were about to start recording was that Tom Brady has been approved by NFL owners to become a limited partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. That according to Ian Rappaport. What exactly a limited partner means, I have not looked into. I can only guess.
I assume that was a minority owner.
It's just a nicer way of saying minority owner.
Yeah.
But we were talking about, what does that mean for him? Because he's still a broadcaster. And
right.
You said, obviously this is going to limit his access to locker rooms and all that stuff because there's a lot of stipulations around blah, blah, blah. It's a whole mess. But, so that's that story. Anything else before we move on?
I don't think so.
Okie dokie.
I think we're good with the NFL.
All right, then. Well, then, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to head north of the border. That's right, to the land of poutine and
rouges.
And rouges and mooses and mounties and pretty soon Canadian playoff football because it was week 19 this past weekend in the CFL. It was Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, it was so
Turkeys
cool.
were all over the place.
So cool to see that whole Thanksgiving motif for all the games. They had a special Thanksgiving weekend logo on all their games. It's weird when you think about they have their Thanksgiving in October and we have ours in November, but it's still the same thing.
Hey.
They were off work, holiday up there, and I watched the game yesterday, the actual Thanksgiving Day game, and that was on a Monday afternoon at 1:00.
Yep,
I
was watching it at work.
Football.
I had an hour left of work. I had it on. I was watching, and I was walking around being like, "Hey, you guys want to watch this Thanksgiving game with me?" And they're like, "What are you talking about, Thanksgiving?" I'm like, "It's Canadian Thanksgiving, everybody!" And they're like, "Shut up, go back to work." I'm like, "Okay." So that was my Canadian Thanksgiving. All right. Friday saw the Toronto Argonauts defeat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 14-11. What a slugfest! Defensive game this was.
Not real pretty.
Not real pretty, but the Argonauts clinching that last playoff spot in the East.
Yes.
Bit of a surprise. I thought the Blue Bombers looked like they were giving it their all. So no slouch there, but Toronto was able to tough it out and get that victory.
Well, this broke the Blue Bombers' 8-game winning streak.
It did.
So, everybody kind of expected Winnipeg to win this game, but Toronto had a lot to play for, and Winnipeg did not look good for whatever in that game.
Both teams didn't look great, but it was just for whatever reason it was just that type of game where you just had to really, really grit one out.
And this was in Winnipeg.
Yeah, it was. That's the big
in front of a sellout crowd. They watched their team lose for the first time in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And Toronto comes in on the road and wins a game that gets them into the playoffs. Wow.
Yep. So good for Toronto. I'm glad to see them in the playoffs. Now it's just a matter of can they win another one to get that home game because that's still a possibility.
Yep.
All right, then Saturday there was a doubleheader as the Edmonton Elks defeated the Calgary Stampeders 23-18.
Yeah, a lot of backup quarterbacks at this point in the season when they're
both these
out
teams
of the
were eliminated already.
Yep.
So
play the backup guys,
play some young guys, get some eyes on some fresh
Trey
people.
Ford for Edmonton.
Yeah,
and
he needs all the playing time he can get. I still think he should be the starter.
He should be the starter next year. Start him right at week 1 and let him go.
Yeah, let him go.
See
Build out a team around him because that's what they need.
Yep.
Then on Saturday, the Saskatchewan Roughriders defeated the BC Lions 39-8 to give the Roughriders an edge in trying to host that home playoff game in their division there in the West.
Yeah, with 2 games to go, those top 3 teams in the West are 1 game apiece, 1 game apart. So, anything can happen.
It is a very tight race in both, well, except for the East, but, there's still tightness there.
Right.
And then Monday, on Thanksgiving Day itself in Canada, the Montreal Alouettes defeated the Ottawa Red Blacks 19-12. It's the 4th straight year that these two teams have played on Thanksgiving. Another slugfest, a game with only 1 touchdown during the game. Yeah. Rainy. Boy, I was watching that. I was like, I'm glad I'm not there for that.
Yeah, everybody. Well, we know somebody was there for that.
Yeah,
but they all had their rain ponchos on, and it looked kind of cold and drizzly. But,
hey, I'm sure having that win makes it all the sweeter on Thanksgiving Day. Then you get to go home, eat your poutine and turkey
and dressing and everything else that goes along with that. It's making me hungry right now.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then on bye this week, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I'll be sure to check out our weekly show, Canadian Football League Weekly, for details, highlights of these games. We go a little more in depth. We're going to record that probably tomorrow. We'll get that up this week. And let's look at the standings for the CFL after 19 weeks, everybody. In the East Division, the Montreal Alouettes have clinched that East Division with a 12-3-1 record. The Toronto Argonauts, clinching their playoff spot, sit at 9-7, followed by the 8-7-1 Ottawa Red Blacks, who also clinched their spot. So it's those two teams fighting it out for who's going to host that first round game.
Yep.
And then the Hamilton Tiger Cats eliminated at 6-10. In the West Division, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at 10-7, falling. So their loss makes it interesting because right behind them is the 9-7-1 Saskatchewan Roughriders, and then the 8-9 BC Lions. So a couple games left, and anything can happen.
Yeah, any of those three teams could end up as the winner of the West and get a bye.
And get the bye, yeah. So a lot to play for these last couple of weeks there in the West Division. And then obviously eliminated the Edmonton Elks at 6-11 and the Calgary Stampeders at 4-11-1. All right, we're going to stay in the Great White North, and we're going to throw it over to Randy, who's going to talk to us about some Canadian college scores.
Yes, USPORTS, their version of the NCAA up there. It was the Montreal Carabins over the Laval Red and Gold, 32-31 in overtime. It was the McMaster Marauders over the Waterloo Warriors, 34-32 in overtime. Are you seeing a pattern here? And in the third game, it was the Sherbrooke Green and Gold over the McGill Redbirds, 30-25 in double overtime. There's just some random scores I picked out, but yeah, a lot of overtime games up there. And then in the Canadian Junior Football League, they actually, I believe this was their quarterfinal round because there were only 4 games, and they didn't make a big deal of it. And their website was a little bit vague on things going on because the first score that I saw was the Quinte Skyhawks shutting out the Greater Toronto Area Grizzlies 1-0, and I could not find any verification. Was this a forfeit? Or was this one on a rouge, and that was the only score of the game? I could not tell. I even looked today again, just before you got here, and it's not clear. So I don't know if that was a forfeit or if it was, an actual, 1-0 score. I think it said it was in Quinte, and I thought this was pronounced Quint, but I was looking so much that I actually found a couple of the broadcasters, and they pronounced it Quinte. But yeah, I just don't know yet. If I find out next week, I'll let you know. But
or somebody else knows because Randy clearly wants to know.
Yeah, I want to know, and I could not find it on the Canadian Junior Football League website. They had no stats for the game, so I don't know. My guess is that it was a forfeit, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, in a couple other games, the Okanagan Sun over the Valley Huskers, 50-19, and it was the West Shore Rebels over the Langley Rams, 25-21. I think they're going to have 2 or 3 more games next week in the quarterfinals or semifinals. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's playoff time up there. All right, so now we are going to head back to the United States, and we're going to talk about some college scores in the U.S. We're going to start with the top 10 scores. It was number 1 Texas over number 18 Oklahoma, 34-3 in the Red River Shootout. Did you see any of this game?
I didn't, but I saw one highlight, I guess, and it was I love seeing how they have their own logo for this rivalry. They put it in the middle of the field, so I think that's pretty cool that they do that.
Yep. Let's see. Number 3 Oregon upset number 2 Ohio State 32-31. You watched this game.
I watched this entire game
because
I have an Ohio State coworker, and I jokingly was going to buy a Ducks costume at the Spirit Halloween store to troll them at work if they indeed lost. And the Ducks won. I should have gone to the store, and I never did because I was going to be nice to him. But what a game. This was absolutely wild. From start to finish, it was one of the best college games I've watched since last year when the Ducks played, I want to say, when they played the Washington Huskies. They had a couple of great games, and I think the one game I remember watching, I was like, this game's unbelievable, was in Washington. But anyway, it just seemed like every time Ohio State scored, Oregon would answer, or vice versa. There was the onside kick by Oregon real early on, where they just kicked it straight at an Ohio State player. It bounced off them. They got the ball back. There was the Oregon wide receiver spitting in the face mask of the Ohio State defender, and then that guy got ejected. The Oregon receiver did. So I was like, this is what... It was like right before my girlfriend got home from her trip. She came home that night, and I was like, this game has just been absolutely nuts. And she's like, that's cool, I guess. I don't like football, so I don't know why you're yelling at me. But I was like, this game's been wild. And then, just the back and forth. Then that final drive where Ohio State had a shot to kick the game-winning field goal. Their quarterback had a run up the middle. He had no timeouts left, and he slid. But he slid too late. Couldn't call the timeout. The clock hit zeros. And it's just like, what was this kid thinking? It was just a rough way to lose if you're Ohio State. But if anything, I mean, that's not a bad loss. They probably should have ended up winning this game. They're probably still the better team technically, but they'll get another shot at Oregon, I think, and maybe it'll be a different story when they play at a neutral site. But this was a great game.
So do you think this was good or bad for the Big Ten?
This is great for the Big Ten.
Now that they're both in the Big Ten.
I mean, Oregon has lived up to being a Big Ten team, I think. They're physical. But they seem to, unlike the team we're about to talk about next, Oregon seems like they understand how to recruit, how to actually handle big physical Big Ten teams. So I think Oregon's a great addition to the Big Ten. They're a lot of fun and should create a lot of fun stuff going forward.
Okay. It was number 4, Penn State over USC, 33-30 in overtime.
Another wild one. USC had their chance. They were leading big at halftime, and Penn State crawled back, got the win in overtime. But USC's this is their third Big Ten loss since jumping to the Big Ten conference. They lost to Michigan, they lost to Minnesota, and now here they are. They lost to Penn State. USC. It's not that they can't get out. They almost seem to get out physicaled a little bit. I mean, clearly they had Penn State on the ropes in this game for a while, but they just can't hang. I think they just get worn down by the end of that game. They just can't hang with a Big Ten team that's built like a Penn State or a Michigan. Shoot, even a Minnesota, they couldn't hang with. So, I don't know. USC's got some stuff to figure out. But, I mean, kudos to Penn State, too, for looking as good as they did. I liked how Penn State looked, and I've never really rooted for the Nittany Lions before, but I was like, you know what? This seems like a decent team that I could get behind this year.
Okay. It was number 5, Georgia over Mississippi State, 41-31. Number 6, Miami of Florida was on a bye. Number 7, Alabama over South Carolina, 27-25. Number 8, Tennessee over Florida, 23-17 in overtime. Number 13, LSU upset number 9, Ole Miss, 29-26 in overtime. And Clemson, number 10, Clemson over Wake Forest, 49-14. That's 3 overtime games in the top 10, involving top 10 teams.
I mean, when
there are overtime games everywhere.
I mean, college football overtime is fun, but I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to love it because I mean they both start at the 25, and it's just kind of like,
right. Yeah.
So I don't know. They made for some fun finishes, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, moving on to some upsets, shutouts, blowouts, and more. Number 11, Notre Dame over Stanford, 49-7.
Woof.
Arizona State upset number 16, Utah, 27-19. Number 23, Illinois over Purdue, 50-49 in overtime. There's another overtime game. Jacksonville State over New Mexico State, 54-13. UNLV over Utah State, 50-34. Wisconsin over Rutgers, 42-7. Liberty over Florida International, 31-24 in overtime. And then lastly at the FBS level, before we got on to the military academies, Western Michigan had a game at home Saturday night against Akron, and they ended up winning the game 34-24, but there was a 5-hour delay due to hail and lightning in Kalamazoo, and I couldn't get this game on TV, and I was doing something else, but man, the lightning and the thunder around our house was just awful, and I didn't realize that that Western Michigan was playing on the other side of town. And then I found some highlights later on where they showed the hail coming down, and they were still playing in the hail.
That was crazy.
The hail was hitting the field, and
Yeah.
the players were, the fans were running for running for cover, but the play was still going on the field, and they finally did because of all the lightning. And 5-hour delay, and I was long after I went to bed that night. But they did win the game, so good for them. But the football field. They announced last week the football field at Waldo Stadium has been renamed, or not renamed, has been named after. I'm screwing
Man,
this
you
up.
are terrible at this.
Has been named the Stafford Smith Field after a donation of $5 million by David and Rhonda Stafford and their family. David Stafford played football at Western Michigan from 1986 to 1988. And owns Stafford Smith Incorporated, a food service vending company based out of Kalamazoo.
So no longer Waldo Stadium.
No, it's still Waldo Stadium. They renamed the field.
The field. Oh, okay.
Yes, it's.
That's where I was confused about. I was like, man, but Waldo Stadium is just such a staple name.
No, it's Stafford Smith Field at Waldo Stadium.
Oh, okay. Oof.
So,
I was scared there when I saw those headlines.
But $5 million donation to the school. I think it's the biggest one they've ever gotten.
And that's pretty awesome.
It is. It is awesome. So. Good for them. We appreciate them as Western Michigan fans. All right, now let's talk about the military academies. It was Army improving to 6-0 with a win over UAB 44-10. Army is 6-0 for the first time since 1996. Navy was on a bye, but they're at 5-0. And New Mexico defeated Air Force 52-37. In the latest AP poll, Army is number 23. And Navy is number 25. This is the first time that both teams have been ranked in the same poll since 1960. I think that's really cool.
That's awesome.
I enjoyed the military academies, all three of them. And
for years we've wondered if we would ever see those military academies back into like the old days where it was like Army and Navy at the top of the. I mean, they might never get back to the top, but just see them ranked at all.
Yep.
Kind of gives you that old school vibes of like college from yesteryear.
Yeah, I love seeing them in bowl games. A lot of times they're in one of the military bowls, sponsored by the military or military manufacturing companies.
Right.
So it's just cool, and that's why I like to feature them every week. What's going on with Army, Navy, and Air Force, and even the Coast Guard Academy sometimes. All right, let's see. There are 11 FBS schools that are undefeated right now.
I know. Isn't that crazy? You got Army, you got Navy, you got Pitt, Iowa State, BYU, Miami, Indiana, Oregon, Texas, Penn State, and Liberty.
Yeah. We're going to keep an eye on this list and see who keeps coming off the list. But
And especially with the way the college football playoff format's going to be, I mean, being undefeated, it's going to be a lot tougher. I mean, we've already seen like a team like, not Penn State, USC's got 3 losses already, so that probably ruins their shot. Michigan's got 2 losses. So it's going to be a lot tougher with these conferences becoming super conferences and the competition getting a lot stiffer. I think it'll be harder and harder for teams to just go undefeated. Like even Ohio State, look at them. They got a loss now.
Yeah.
So Alabama's got a loss. So, it's going to be hard. And
it's
a
whole new landscape.
It is. And I could see this list dwindling down. But now we got 11. I bet you we see that start to dwindle here in the coming weeks.
Sure. Another thing that came out last week is that the NCAA is doing away with the National Letter of Intent for high school athletes, effective immediately. Instead, a new financial aid agreement will take its place. The National Letter of Intent dates back to 1964. It seemed like that was a big deal. You get these kids to sign their letter. I'm going to go to, and they're always doing these videos. They'd have 2 or 3 hats out there. A lot of times that would take place at one of the high school, all-star games, right around the new year. And now that's all gone away with the NIL stuff going on.
So we swapped out a fun thing for just guys sitting around and they sign a big fat contract. Like that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Now, here's your NIL deal. We're going to give you this much money to come and play for us. So I don't like it myself. But you were alluding to the Super League that we talked about last week. Well, this week there's another one that came out that they're talking about, and I guess it's not just these 2. There are a couple others that I wasn't.
Well, I bet everybody wants to get their fingers in the pot.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. The world of football, collegiate, whatever the heck I called it last week, needs to be a real thing. We need some donors. We need to just put our plan out there, and I'm telling you, we could make some money off these kids. I mean. I'm just kidding. I would do it for the student athletes.
No, but the latest model for what this is going to look like in the next few years is something called Project Rudy. And I'm assuming that's coming about from Rudy,
Based off the movie.
Rudy Rudiger from Notre Dame. But last week it was the Super League. This week it's Project Rudy, and this format consists of 70 different teams. But that's all. The 70 team structure will exclude the entire bottom tier of the FBS. The whole group of 5. They're not even in this. And so what you were saying a couple weeks ago makes a whole lot of sense. There should be 2 national champions at the Division I level.
I've been saying this for years.
Where you have an FBS and an FCS champion. You get two title games, 2 trophies.
Yeah.
And everybody gets a chance to win either whatever division
your
you're
group
in.
of 5 championship, and then your rest of whatever.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense now.
I mean, I've been down for that, and I think if you made it, and I'll say it again, if you made it like a relegation system, which I know you roll your eyes at, but I'm not kidding. Like, if you have some relegation spots where these top teams that were, like, I always called it the Gold League and the Silver League. Your Gold League being obviously the Power 5, and then the rest of 5, group of 5, whatever you want to call it, is the Silver. The top teams from that, your champion, all that, guess what? You get a chance to move up to the Gold and have a shot at that title and those conferences. And then the worst teams from the Gold move down to the Silver and have to try to work their way back up. I kind of like that idea for college football. I think it's built more for that type of European soccer league or football league.
This isn't welcome to Wrexham.
I know. But if there's a league in the United States to do that, and I think to also add a little more thrill to it, it would be college football. I think because you can't do it with the NFL. Yeah, right. Good luck. And what league are you relegating to?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to send the Carolina Panthers down to the UFL. I don't see that happening anytime soon, even though it'd probably be good for the NFL. Or having the Montreal Alouettes move up to the NFL, well, that'd be pretty cool. But that ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think in college it would be different. It would be unique. And it would also give something for these guys to play for. Like, hey, what's the team that's been really good? JMU.
James Madison.
James Madison University. Guess what? You won the Silver League College Trophy. You get an invitation or shot to move up to the Gold League. We'll put you in this section of the teams here. Your schedule is going to be like this, and you get a shot. If you're one of the worst teams, you're going to get relegated back down. But if you're decent enough to hang in there, you can stay there for another year, and you can still keep building your program up. And I think something like that could work. Maybe it needs a couple more steps, but that's how I see college football should be going. But it's just me.
Yeah.
And if you want to back us, you can back the Brinks truck up to the World of Football headquarters in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Email us for details.
Well, getting back to this Project Rudy, 70 teams is what they're looking at. This new proposal, however, would eliminate all games against current Group of 5 and FCS teams. So no more would you have, Alabama playing some cream puff FCS team at the beginning of the season. They would only be playing each other in this 70-team league or whatever. The 70 schools would be shopped as a single entity media rights package. It's not immediately clear which 70 schools would be included.
Boy.
Because I think the other model, they had all of the FBS teams, which was like 72 or 76, and this one's cutting it off at 70. So there's a couple of FBS schools that wouldn't be included in this model because they've got this 70-team package going on. But anyway, the proposal would most likely begin after all of the current major media rights deals expire after the 2031 season, which is the same as the other one. So this is all talk at this point. Nothing's going to happen until after 2035 when the current agreements,
2031.
31, yeah. All their media, agreements and TV contracts come to an end. So whatever. All right, let's move on to the FCS level. We had North Carolina Central shutting out Virginia Lynchburg 68-0. South Dakota State over Youngstown State 63-13, and in the Ivy League it was Dartmouth over Yale 44-43 in overtime. There's another overtime going on. Let's see, Division II. Southern Arkansas over Oklahoma Baptist 65-10. It was Kutztown shutting out Lock Haven 24-0, and Limestone over Catawba 36-33 in double overtime. In Division 3, St. Olaf over Carleton, 19-13. Wartburg over Buena Vista, 70-21. Ooh, what a beating there. And Johns Hopkins over Gettysburg, 51-7. In the NIA level, it was St. Francis of Indiana over Lawrence Tech, 77-14. Indiana Wesleyan over Marion, 77-21. Are you sensing a pattern here? And finally, Ottawa University of Arizona over Simpson of California, 76-14. 3 games in the NIL level with over 70 points scored by the winning team. Wow. And finally, in the junior college level, National Junior College Athletic Association, it was Sussex County over Hudson Valley, 26-21. New Mexico Military over Cisco, 20-5. And Dodge City over Ellsworth, 39-15. Whew. Yeah, a lot of football being played in this country that a lot of people aren't aware of, and that's why we read these scores to let you know that it's not all Alabama, Notre Dame, and Michigan out there. There's a lot of good football being played by a lot of kids that deserve some attention.
For sure.
All right, and now it's time for some scores from across the other pond in Japan.
And now we're off across the Pacific, where our man in Japan, Greg St. James, has all the news from the land of the rising sun.
From the Gridiron Japan newsroom here in southwestern Japan, it's Greg St. James with your Week 7 scores in the X League. This week we had the Super X League play Weekend 4 of their regular season. First game we had the Panasonic Impulse, 55-0 over Fujifilm Minerva. We had a 24-24 tie game with the Tokyo Gas Creators and the Nojima Rise. The game was tied up in the last seconds of the game by the Creators to force the tie and keep the playoff picture here in Japan interesting. Next up, we had the Fujitsu Frontiers, 59-0 over the All Mitsubishi Lions. It was the Elecom Finies, 37-14 over the Oriental Bio Silver Star. The Seksui Challengers won 30-13 over IBM Big Blue. And then lastly, we had the Obix Eagles 44-10 over the Pleiades Suns. And that is your Week 7 scores here in Japan. One last thing before I say goodbye to you guys for this week. How about them Cowboys?
Yes, Greg. How about them Cowboys? Indeed. Oh, I love it.
Oh, yeah. I love those callbacks from earlier in the show.
I was going to say, seems like only 35 minutes ago we were talking about them Cowboys.
He must have been listening to your opening thing there. How about those Cowboys?
Yeah, I don't know if he was or not, but hey, gotta love it.
He'll be listening to it tomorrow when it shows up in Japan. All right, now we're going to go back to the United States for more happenings in and around the world of football. Still no word yet from the Arena League One on that 12th team. I'm so ready to
there's no
to hear
news.
about
Let's
the 12th
just skip
team.
them. You have them highlighted in red. They have
nothing
going on.
because
Skip
I know
them.
it's
Let's move
any
on.
time now they're going to announce that 12th team, but whatever. Okay, but the Arena League has announced their 2025 schedule for next year. They're going to begin on May 30th. They have a 9-week regular season, which is going to end on July 26th. They had 6 teams last year. They're going to have 2 more teams this year that they've added, so 8-team league over there. I'm not sold on this style of play.
I'm not either. But
no kickoffs, no goalposts. It's just passing it around.
But clearly, something clicked. They got through their whole season.
Yep.
Apparently, players were played because I haven't heard anything about.
Well, they've got a smaller team. What is it? 7 or 6 players.
6 players on each side of the line.
So.
I'm just saying, I haven't heard any of those financial issues. Like we kind of speculated, maybe because Tim Brown, the commissioner / guy who started this league, there was some questions around his viability, to keep this league afloat. But compared to the Arena Football League last season, they seem like they did everything right. They might be weird with the 6 players and the no kickoffs, no field goals, but they clearly there's people out there who like that product. So
I would have to actually go to one of these games to really determine if I like it or not. From a distance, I'm like, that's just a little bit too weird. I don't know, but even
trying to watch it on like YouTube or wherever, I was like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah, But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to going to a game somewhere and checking one out in person.
So if you work for the Arena League, hit us up. We will, and you want to, give us some press badges, and we'll fly or drive ourselves out there, but we would definitely go check out your product.
We'll come in and talk about your game and your league for a couple of hot dogs and a couple of sodas.
Oh, if we got some food vouchers, please, Randy would buy those tickets so fast.
We can be bought for a couple of hot dogs.
We can be bought. I want that on a T-shirt. The world of football. We can be bought for a couple of hot dogs.
And then also the National Arena League announced their schedule also. Their season is going to begin on March 7th and end on June 1st. It's a 13-week season. I don't know if it's a 12-game schedule or what, but it's over 13 weeks, and they have 11 teams, so everybody's going to have a bye at some point. So, yeah.
11 teams, but I could have swore that they had 12 teams prior to this schedule release.
Well, news has come out that the Corpus Christi Tritons were not included in this year's schedule, and you were reading the whole thing about it. They had some problems, and they felt that they had done everything they needed to do to get back in the league, but the league said, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, and they said it's not financial that they were kicked out. That's according to the team in a big post they put up.
Yeah.
They weren't kicked out for financials. They were kicked out because it sounds like some owners think that traveling down that far is just not feasible or wouldn't work out for some of their arena times, and I don't know. It sounds like a whole mess. Maybe there's got to be more to this.
We're
only hearing the team side of it, not the league side of it, so...
Yep.
I don't know. The National Arena League, look, I got nothing against them. We've been covering them for years. We've never been to a National Arena game. I always kind of
No.
I never really cared too much for the National Arena League and their product, other than they took some arena teams early on.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But there aren't any around here.
No.
Because we're talking about going to an indoor game in Indianapolis.
Yeah. Waiting for their schedule
because
to come
that's going to be the close. They've got a new team coming to Indianapolis, and that's the closest one to us. It's like 3 hours away. So yeah, we used to travel to a lot of other leagues when they were around here.
I thought you were saying it when we were younger.
Well, that too. but yeah, there just aren't that many around here anymore. So a lot of traveling involved in that. All right, we're going to move on to some news out of the Women's Football Alliance. This makes me happy. A new team has been announced in Buffalo, New York, and they're going to be called the Buffalo Yetis. And they have a really cool logo. I posted their logo on our Facebook page, and it's just it's perfect.
Obviously, it's on the graphic this week. You like the logo so much, we worked it in to be the third of our big
That's
topics.
So cool.
It is a cool logo, and I think it's cool that it's the first women's tackle football team in the modern era to call Buffalo home. And it's the first since the Buffalo All-Stars played in 1970 as the very first women's tackle football team to ever come to the state of New York. And it's funny that is the case because this past year we were just at a ceremony.
Yes.
Inducting and
honoring
that very
with
team
a historical marker.
Thanks to our friend Greg Tranter out there in Buffalo.
Yep.
And so this is pretty cool.
Yeah, Greg is a member of the Pro Football Researchers Association, like you and I are, and he was behind getting this historical marker installed at the high school stadium where this game was played in 1970. It was a nice little ceremony. He was there. Several other people were there. One of the ladies that actually played on that team was there. She had a cool story about how she played under a different name because she didn't want her family to know that she was doing it. Then her picture was in the paper. So,
But how cool would it be if they at least played a game at that stadium? I don't know where they plan on playing.
Yeah, I don't think that was in the press release.
I'm sure they're still working out all those details.
Sure.
But man, oh man, if they play at that very same stadium,
At least one game.
we at least got to go with Greg to go see a game. I mean, shoot. Greg, hit us up. We'll do it. We'll come back out to Buffalo for that.
Maybe, yeah. We'll do it for a couple of hot dogs
Oh, my God.
and a bag of chips and a couple of Sody Pops.
God, we're selling ourselves. Just,
Why
do I feel so dirty right now?
We think with our stomachs.
This is very true. Hey, it's like also make sure that those sodas are large sized.
Yes.
And none of those mini. If they just sell the pop bottles, no, I don't want those little minis. I want a full.
I can't drink a lot of pop, or we're gonna have to stop too many times on the way home in the car.
This guy.
All right, but
We're also looking for a catheter sponsorship, everybody.
No, we're not. Get anything in the big mouth bottles we can use on the drive home? Let's see. Another team was also announced yesterday in the WFA. the River City Grizzlies that are going to be based in Sacramento, California.
Yeah,
So women's football is growing all the time.
Yes, they are. I think that's great. I mean, we followed them the last several years. Obviously, we've been to some games. We got to meet some owners of the Pittsburgh
Passion.
Passion. I don't know
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh
Passion.
Power. That was the real team. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Passion. So it's a great sport, and it's great for women. And obviously, you know, we're the world of football, and we want to talk about more. It's more than just the NFL,
Right.
And this is the stuff that's out there, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love it.
And didn't we have a story a couple weeks or months ago that the WFA signed a new contract with like ESPN or somebody?
I believe so.
Where they're going to have more than just the championship games on ESPN. They're going to have some regular season
Because
games.
they had that on their banner of their Facebook page too. When I found the Grizzlies story. So
Okay. All right. Very cool. Yeah. WFA action. Let's see. Today's birthdays for October 15th. Defensive lineman Joe Klecko turns 71 years old today. He played his college football at Temple, and he was selected in the 6th round of the 1977 NFL Draft by the New York Jets. He played 12 NFL seasons. He was with the Jets from 77 to 87, and he finished his pro career with the Indianapolis Colts in 88. He was inducted into the Temple Athletic Hall of Fame in 1987 and the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2023, but I will always remember him for his cameo in Smokey and the Bandit. Do you remember the scene where Buford T. Justice is parked behind a semi on a bridge, and the bridge is up, and he's waiting, and that was Joe Klecko that got out of that vehicle, that truck, and walked back there to Buford T. Justice and kind of pinched his badge and crinkled his badge a little bit.
yeah,
And I guess he was also in Cannonball Run. It's been a long time.
I've never
since
seen Cannonball Run.
Yeah, I have.
Smokey
but
and the Bandit's one of my favorites.
Been a long time. Oh, Smokey and the Bandit is awesome.
And I know, you know, it's not today's birthday, but yesterday was Jared Goff's birthday. He
That's
turned
right.
30. And then the day before that, obviously, Jerry Jones's 82nd birthday. And we'll all remember that one for a long time.
Oh,
I think.
yeah.
How about them Cowboys?
Happy birthday, Jerry. I'm glad you invited us to the party. Let's see. Obituaries. This is where we take a moment to honor those who made the world of football a better place. All these obituaries are ones I forgot to do last week.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we've got 4 of them this week. Let's see. The first one here, Billy Shaw, a guard in the American Football League for 9 seasons, has died at the age of 85. Shaw played college football at Georgia Tech and was selected in the 14th round of the 1961 NFL Draft by the Dallas Cowboys. He was also selected in the 2nd round of the 1961 American Football League Draft by the Buffalo Bills. He chose to sign with the Bills and played his entire career in Buffalo from 61 to 69. He also won 2 AFL titles with the Bills in 64 and 65. Shaw was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1999 and is the only player in the Hall of Fame to play his entire career in the AFL. I have a little note there. Maybe I'll mention this to you later. But this next obituary is no relation to Billy Shaw that I know of.
Okay, well, our next obituary is that of David Shaw, a defensive back in the Canadian Football League for 12 seasons, has passed away at the age of 71. Shaw played college football at HBCU Prairie View A&M and then signed with the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats. He played for the team from 1975 to 1982. He also played for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers from 1983 to 1986 and won a Grey Cup with the Blue Bombers in 1984.
Our next obituary is that of Abdul Salam, a defensive lineman in the NFL for 8 seasons. He's passed away at the age of 71. Salam played college football at Kent State and was selected in the 7th round of the 1976 NFL Draft by the New York Jets. He played his entire career with the Jets from 1976 to 1983. Salam was a member of the defensive unit known as the New York Sack Exchange. He was born Larry Falk, but changed his name in 1977.
All right, and our final obituary this week is that of Pat Fisher, a cornerback in the NFL for 17 seasons, has passed away at the age of 84. Fisher played college football at Nebraska and was selected in the 17th round of the 1961 NFL Draft by the St. Louis Cardinals. He played for the Cardinals from 1961 to 1967. He also played for the Washington Redskins from 1968 to 1977. Fisher played in 213 NFL games, which is 213 more than you or I.
Yeah. I had this little note on the Billy Shaw thing. I talked with Glenn Bass the other day, and he's the guy that I wrote the section on for the upcoming book about the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
And because he's down in Florida, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, and I'd interviewed him on the phone, and I wanted to make sure he was okay. And I know he was like in the northern part, but a lot of destruction everywhere in Florida.
Everything with the hurricanes,
Yep.
thoughts and prayers all
So I
down there.
I called him up and I said, hey, I hope everything's okay with you. And one of the first things that came out of his mouth was, did you hear that Billy Shaw passed away? Because he was a teammate of Glenn's, on that, the 64 and 65 Buffalo Bills championship teams. And so, yeah, he was very well aware that his friend and teammate Billy Shaw had passed away. So, we had a nice little conversation, and that book is coming out this spring, maybe February. And I told him, I said, when I get a copy of it, I am going to personally bring it down to you and present you with a copy of the book, and then I want you to sign my book that I'm going to get.
Oh, boy.
And so yeah, I'm going to make a trip down to Florida to go see him.
Smelling a video here.
Well, maybe if you got some time off, we can drive down.
I don't know if I'll have time. You'll have to do this all by yourself. If you know how to do selfies.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. All right, let's see. Upcoming events calendar. This Sunday, October 20th, it's the Patriots and the Jaguars at Wembley Stadium in London. Another 8:30 a.m. game. On
9:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m. game on
boy.
NFL Network.
Let me sleep in an extra hour. Jeez.
I probably won't even watch that game. Saturday, October 26th, the CFL regular season comes to an end. Man, it's almost here. Sunday, November 10th, it's going to be the Giants and the Panthers at Munich. Another 9:30 a.m. game on NFL Network. And finally, on our events calendar so far, Sunday, November 17th, the 111th CFL Grey Cup game in Vancouver, where we will be in attendance.
God, it's about a month away. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Every day I look at my work calendar because I check off every day I show up. I'm like, it's going to be here before we know it.
It is. It is. I'm so looking forward to it. It's going to be such a great time. I have no idea what the weather's going to be like. November in Vancouver. It could be pretty snowy. It could be kind of nice. You never know. But we're going to have a good time regardless.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we close this show out?
Nothing I can see.
Okay. Well, then that's all we've got the time for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
Oh, that's right, everybody. You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all three of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube page. Just enter the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @theworldoffootball in that YouTube search bar. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here in Kalamazoo talking about football every week. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I will be your host next week, along with my brother-in-law, Kyle, as Randy will be out of town, which means get ready for a wacky and wild and crazy show from everybody but Randy.
It's going to be a free-for-all. I'm almost afraid to listen next week.
Enjoy your vacation is all I'll say.
Oh, boy. I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Adam will see you all next week.
And that also means all the other videos, you probably won't see Randy unless he videos in or sends a video message.
I plan to send my pics from down there in Florida somewhere.
Okay.
Whether it's from the hotel room or someplace I find, whatever.
All right.
But we'll see. We'll do what we can.
Sounds good, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I'll see you next week. Let's have fun next week, everybody.